Good afternoon, boys and girls, and parents. Today we're in 5th grade math. We're going to talk about order of operation again. We're going to work on some problems that my students were having problems with during the week. We're going to go back over the whole process, and then we're going to work on some games, and hopefully you'll be able to incorporate the strategies we've learned into those games. If you don't already have some, you may go run and get some index cards or some sticky notes and a marker or a pencil or a pen to help you make the cards that we're going to use later on for the game. The first thing I want to talk about, though, we are working with order of operation. One of the major things that my students are having problems with this week is remembering the order. Of course, some of them didn't write it down because the online learning that we're all trying to learn this week is writing down the notes that the teachers are telling them online. So we need to remember the importance of the flow of the order of operation. The first step is always the parentheses. The parentheses is always the first step. If in an equation you have parentheses, no matter if it's multiplication, addition, division, subtraction, you always do the parentheses first. It is the hierarchy. It is the king. You always do that one first, no matter what else is in that equation. Next, you have exponents. I know in 5th grade we don't talk about exponents, but that is going to be your next step. When you get into 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, they want you to know that that is the next step. We do not do that in 5th grade, but you need to know that's the next step. Multiplication and division is going to be your next step in 5th grade. You need to understand that those are kind of simultaneous. You need to understand that those are whichever one comes first in the equation. And I'm going to show you a couple of equations where maybe division comes before multiplication, and that was confusing my students this week. They wanted to do multiplication first before division, or they wanted to add before they subtracted, because in the equation, the subtraction or the addition came first or second because they thought addition always came first. But in these two instances, oh, I did not draw that very well, sorry. This one is whichever comes first. This is a huge rule. You have to remember which one comes first in the equation. And when we look at the equation, we are always looking at it from left to right. So when we practice our game this afternoon and we work out some of our equations here in just a second, I'm going to point that out to you more than ever, that you need to remember that scenario. That seems to be the biggest problem with my students were having this week, was remembering those specific rules in the order of operation formula. Okay? So hopefully you have written that down to help you with that scenario. I do not think any teacher in Mobile County would be upset if you wrote this rule down to help you with the work you are doing, whether you're doing it online or in the packet, to help you remember this scenario. All right, let's try a couple of problems that my students were having problems with in class that I think you could help them out with by working them. So the first one they were having problems with is 8 minus 3 plus 1. The first thing you want to do is look at the problems and see what operations do you see. We see subtraction and we see addition. Now, based on what I just told you, what do you think my students wanted to do first? Yes, they wanted to do what? Add. Because in their notes, they wrote down adding was first. But They weren't thinking about the entire rule, were they? Which one comes first in the equation? This is one of the ones they got wrong because they did not look at the equation and see which one comes first. Subtraction comes first. So we have to subtract in this equation before we add. So here we have to subtract, then we can add because it comes before addition. Does that make more? I'm hoping that makes more sense to you. My students gave me 8 minus 4 and gave me 4 as an answer, which is incorrect because we do not add first because it does not come first in the equation. The correct solution to the problem is 5 plus 1, which is 6. Okay? All right, let me show you another one that they were also having problems with. 1 plus 2 in parentheses, which we automatically know we're going to do that one first, times 5 plus 4. And they did the first part of it correctly. They didn't have any problems with the parentheses part. They did 3 times 5 plus 4. But when they got here, they automatically wanted to do 3 times 9 is 27. So what do you think? Did they follow the order of operation? Did they look at this part of the equation and say, which one comes first, multiplication or addition? Or did they just jump right into it and do what they wanted to do? I agree with you. They just jumped right into it and they added before they multiplied. Multiplication comes before addition according to our hierarchy. Multiplication and division always comes before adding and subtracting. So if they had done it correctly, at this part in the equation, they would have gotten 35. Oh no, I apologize. I can't multiply today. 15 plus 4, which is 19. This is the answer or the product that I was looking for. Do you see the difference? And do you see how closely you need to follow that pattern? Those were some of the problems, actually 2 of the problems that they were having problems with. There was one more that had a fraction in it. And I know you remember fractions and multiplying fractions. We did that 3rd quarter. That was the last one that they were having problems with. Fractions, multiplying fractions by whole numbers is something we learned how to do 4th quarter. And one of the big things I think that they were having problems with was remembering those concepts. The concepts that we are combining all at one time has been the other problem with my students. When you look at this equation, you have subtraction, multiplication, and addition. But when you see that fraction in there, a lot of students freak out. They say, oh my gosh, fractions. We haven't done fractions in so long. It's okay. It was just 3rd quarter. And when you multiply fractions, remember you're multiplying straight across. So take a breath, think back. Yes, these are multiple concepts we're trying to get you to understand within order of operation, but you're in 5th grade, you can handle this, you can do this, we believe you can. So think about just that portion of the equation, solve that portion of the equation, and then go about and do the rest of it, okay? So because we know, according to our hierarchy, that we do multiplication next, we're going to multiply 1/4 times 4. So you can do it below the equation. You can come over here and do it on your scratch paper, wherever you feel comfortable. So 1/4 times, remember I have to convert this to a fraction. So 4 over 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. And what is 4 over 4 written as a whole number? It equals 1 whole. Remember those steps? I know you do. So this section right here equals 1 whole. So I'm going to take this section and replace it. 2 minus 1 plus 4. So now I'm looking at subtraction and addition. Once again, go back to your hierarchy. Which one in that equation comes first? Do we subtract or do we add? Which one comes first? Subtraction comes first, so I have to subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1 plus 4 equals 5. So my answer to this equation or expression is 5. That is the one thing right here that my students had the most problems with, was converting that multiplication. They had forgotten the steps and they let the fraction freak them out. Don't let the fraction freak you out. Take a deep breath, look back in your book, Google it, whatever you need to do to remember how to figure those out. Okay? Oh, I lost my top. Hang on. All right. Ready? Let's do a couple of practice problems and then we'll play a couple of games. I think you're ready for a couple of practice problems. There's a couple of practice problems in the packet that I felt like I would like to work through with you to answer any questions or problems that you may be having with them. This was one of them. Times 8 plus 4. A lot of students would look at this and go, well, let me do the multiplication, addition, but what do we have to do first? This is a good practice problem. If you're working this at home, go ahead and write this problem down. I'd like to give you a 30 or 40 seconds to go ahead and work this one out. You want to do the parentheses first. Once you get your answer for the subtraction, you want to write that answer below it. Then you want to bring all of this down so you can look at the next step. That helps me visualize it. Then I can ask myself, do I multiply or do I add? So if we subtract 10 minus 4, we get a 6. Hopefully you have 6 on your paper. Times 8 plus 4. Everything else I brought down. So now you ask yourself, multiply or add? Come over here if you're not sure. Which one comes first, multiplication or addition? Multiplication comes next. 6 times 8, 48. Bring this one down, plus 4. Our last step, we have one operation left. So then we add those together and we get 52. Check your paper. If you have 52, pat yourself on the back. You're doing a great job. That is exactly order of operation. That is what your teacher wants to see. Good job. All right? All right, let's do the next one. I'm going to throw a fraction in on you for practice. Let's do a practice one. 5 times 1/5. I know, it's just one fraction, it's okay. Times 3 times 5 in parentheses. All right. Now look at that one. What do you think? All we have is multiplying, but we do have parentheses. So which operation are we going to do first? If you have to go back and look at your hierarchy, go back and look at your hierarchy. But we have parentheses, so that's what we need to do first. So I'm going to write my answer down here. Then I'm going to bring everything else down. 5 times 1/5 times 35. Now what's next? We have 5 times 1/5 times 35. We have all multiplication. What do we see next? We have to do it from left to right, don't we? Yes, we do. Okay, so what do we do now? 5 times 1/5. Did I write? Yes, I did write the. Oh, I was like, what did I do wrong? I don't have the right problem. I did it again. I multiplied wrong. I just can't multiply today. Miss Sweet is not multiplying correctly. How's that? Is that better? Thank you. Miss Sweet is not multiplying correctly. 15. That works a lot better. Thank you. All right. Now I have it correctly. So our next one we're going to multiply is 5 times 1/5. 5 over 1 times 1 over 5. That's going to equal 5 over 5, which equals 1 whole. So this entire operation here is going to equal 1. So all I have to do is bring my 15 from up here together and multiply those two. And hopefully your mental math, you know that 1 times 15 is 15. So our answer to this equation is 15. Okay? See, even teachers make mistakes. But I love it when the students tell me, wait, Miss Sweet, isn't 3 times 5 15? Yes, it is. All right, hopefully you got your index cards out. I'd like to show you a quick, easy game that you could play with your brothers and sisters at home. I have taken, would it be better if we're good? Okay. I have taken some index cards and I have written numbers on them. I started off easy. I have 2, 4, and 6. I did the bright colors so they're easier to see. I made parentheses also. And then I have my signs, equal, plus, subtraction, and multiplication. And we're going to start off with an easy number. We're going to start off with 32. So what I would like to do is we are going to organize all of these numbers with our parentheses into an equation that would equal 32. So at first I'm thinking, okay, I know I'm going to have multiplication in there somewhere because I need a really big number to get to 32. I probably will have to add something because it will be big, but I will not have to subtract anything. In this game, if you use addition, you will not have to use subtraction. But if you use subtraction, you will not have to use addition. So just know that. You will only be using 2 of these at a time, not all 3 of them. So for 32, I'm going to put that one aside. Let's use multiplication and addition. All right, so what do you think? Should I multiply or should I add 6 plus 4? What would that equal? That would be 10, wouldn't it? And then I could put my parentheses around that. And then if I multiplied that by 2, would that be 32? So 6 plus 4 is 10. And 10 times 2 is, no, that's not 32, is it? Oh, well then I need to rearrange. That would be 20, not 32. All right, so let's rearrange. Let's take the 2 out. And what about this? If I did 6 plus 2, that would be 8. And then 8 times 4, is that 32? Yes. I do believe 8 times 4 is 32. So now I have an equation by manipulating my cards to equal 32. What do you think? Could you get your little brothers and sisters to do this? Just by manipulating their cards and moving them around. You can move your parentheses around. Could we move them around and do 2 times 4? That would be 8 plus 6. That wouldn't be 32 though. I did have it the other way around. What about a different answer? What about 36? That wouldn't be 36. So there are several possibilities about us manipulating these cards and moving them around. We can move them around this way. We could do 6 times 4 is 24, plus 2 is 28, but that's not 36. So I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to have to move my parentheses and move, oh, I can't have my parentheses over all of them. I like it better when it's like this, because then I get a bigger number if my parentheses are like this. But I can't get 36. I know y'all have probably seen it a lot faster than I am, but I'm hoping you get the idea. But just go ahead and make the cards. I think you would. I think you understand the game. You can use any kinds of numbers. You can use dice. You can roll the dice, put the number on, write the number on them, whatever you need to do to generate the numbers. This is a really fun game. You can slide them around, make different equations, make different expressions. Next week, we'll be talking about coordinate planes and moving them around. I'm going to give you directions, like when I was a kid, how to learn how to read a map before we had phones. Thank you once again for enjoying us and coming and enjoying. I hope you got a lot out of today's lesson. And I'll see you next Monday at 1:30. Thank you. Bye-bye.